Do you think it's time to recognize a Palestinian state?
I think that's a profound question that arouses a lot of the biggest problems that have happened with Israel's survival, or Israel's right to survival in the diplomatic scene.
I don't even know what to say about that. I feel like it speaks for itself. If you can't see what a scheming, vacant, non-human Pete Buttigieg is, what a career striver he is.
You sound scared. You sound weak.
It's like AIPAC was pointing a gun at him while he gave this answer.
He doesn't represent anything. There's no moral core there.
He looks pathetic.
He looks super pathetic.
Pete Buttigieg got so much backlash for his word salad answer on Gaza that he felt the need to come out again, talk to the media, and try to deflect some of that criticism. He did offer up some clarifications, but he also used more highbrow, stuffy, academic language to justify and explain away what he said. Before we give you his news statements, I think, Cenk, you've seen overwhelmingly the independent media come out, and to some extent the podcast circuit come out and criticize him. What do you think about this shellacking he's been getting?
The fact that he's now adjusting to it is, I think, the most interesting part, which is what we're gonna get to in a minute. Because in the old days, he would have said that, and everybody on mainstream media would have said, bravo. He says he's profoundly aroused by what Israel's doing, as he should be. And he could say it in 6 different languages. And he would have gotten nothing but applause for it. Now, most of the media is online. Now you're in a lot of trouble. Now you're in our woods, okay? So now you see all those shows piling on because that was a ridiculous answer. What does that mean, right? You know what he is? He's Kamala Plus. You know, like when they launch something online, they just add a plus to it, right? So like, he's the same kind of careerist, empty, vacant vessel that Kamala Harris was, and so many of the establishment Democrats are, but he's just a little bit better at it, right? Like her word salads don't mean anything at all. His word salads, you could track the sentences, only afterwards do you look back and go, nope, he didn't say anything. So, but to me, the reaction is more interesting than his initial statement, which was obviously brought to you by AIPAC. That part's not surprising. Him having to backpedal is surprising.
All right, so he talked to Politico about that Pod Save America interview, and here's what he said about his comments. I get it. It's important to be clear about something this enormous and this painful. It's just that it's so enormous and it's so painful that sometimes words can fail.
Oh, shut up!
What does that mean?
Come on.
It's just too big. Those words definitely did fail. And this is somebody who I want to remind you all has been the Democrats' poster boy for the way he can articulate a message and cut through right-wing talking points. They send him to Fox, they cheer him on, and then suddenly he doesn't know how words work. When it comes to an issue like this, I think he knew what the answer was, he just didn't want to say it.
Jordan, I'm gonna jump in for a second. I felt like that particular part of the comment was, the checks were too big.
Right.
And not getting them was too painful. So my words failed.
Right, there's another instance where he refused to answer. Take a look.
More than half of Senate Democrats just voted to oppose the sale of over $500 million worth of US bombs and guns to Israel. Would you have voted to oppose sending those weapons?
I think we need to insist that if American taxpayer funding is going to weaponry that is going to Israel, that is not going to things that shock the conscience. So much of this is complicated, but what's not complicated is that if a child is starving because of a choice made by a government, that is unconscionable. And I think especially including voices who care about Israel, who believe in Israel's right to exist, who have stood with Israel in response to the unbelievable cruelty and terrorism of October 7th. I think there's a reason why so many of those voices are speaking up now too, because this is not just something that is on its face and in itself a moral catastrophe. It is also a catastrophe for Israel for the long run.
It was a yes or no question, and you didn't get an answer. But then when he talked to Politico, he said that yes, he would have voted for Bernie Sanders' proposed arms embargo against Israel. He also said he was in favor of recognizing a Palestinian state as part of a 2-state solution, and that the US should not pass another 10-year military aid agreement with Israel. His change of tune says less about his actual positions and more about Democrats' realization that voters care more about the genocide in Gaza and want their leaders to speak up about it. A measly 8% of Democratic voters support Israel's military action in Gaza, as Gallup defines it. Buttigieg told Politico, Democrats, like all Americans, but certainly Democrats, are sickened by what's happening and trying to hold several things in mind at the same time, all of which can be true. That what has to happen next is the killing has to end, the hostages have to come home, and the people of Gaza need aid unimpeded. And all of that should be happening immediately. And he's not the only Democrat reevaluating their rhetoric. Others are revising their opinions or just avoiding the conversation altogether in the hopes of avoiding backlash from their base. Senator Ruben Gallego said his own position is, quote, evolving. Governors like Wes Moore of Maryland and Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, both staunch defenders of Israel, are keeping their powder dry and declining to engage on nuts and bolts policy questions. Through a spokesperson, former Vice President Kamala Harris did not comment. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who many people think will run for president in 2028, also gave a typical wishy-washy statement. Trump should insist that the United States, with Israel's cooperation, provide food and assistance to people and children suffering and starving in Gaza. Such basic humanitarian aid must be provided while Israel ensures its ability to defend itself. Meanwhile, the DNC is considering 2 Gaza-related resolutions at the meetings this month. One, submitted by DNC Chair Ken Martin, calls for a ceasefire and a 2-state solution. The other, from progressive DNC members, calls for an arms embargo and recognizing Palestine as a state. But pro-Israel lobbyists are confident Democrats will stay in line. Democratic Majority for Israel President Brian Romick says 2028 is a long way off, but one thing is clear. The US-Israel relationship has been strong for generations, and we expect that Democrats running in 2028 who want to win the presidency not only get that, but will stand strong with our ally. We know our party's support for Israel is strong. Cenk, do you believe any of these 2028 hopefuls in their statements that they are changing tune, or are they just saying it because it's politically expedient?
Oh, I don't believe them at all. And it's just a variation in the range there. So, for example, let's note for the record that Wes Moore hasn't said anything about Gaza. I mean, I hear about how Wes Moore is the second coming all the time, right? And he's doing something smart strategically, by the way, he's hiding. So Buttigieg and Newsom are doing interviews and they can't thread the needle because they want to please their donors. But every time they get out there, they step right in it because if you talk donor talk now, you're gonna get caught. So Wes Moore doesn't want to get caught, so he's hiding in a cave somewhere and just can't find, the words have failed him as well, right? Later they'll bring out Wes Moore as the answer, okay? So I don't know enough about him. I'm not saying I don't like him, it's just interesting that he's hiding in a cave. Okay, so let's put that aside. So now when you go to somebody like Buttigieg, he said, things that we shouldn't spend money in regards to Israel on things that shock the conscience. So, but you're not even in favor of cutting all their funding in the middle of a genocide. So if a genocide and starving children to death doesn't shock your conscience, Jesus Christ, what does? Like and to Jordan's main question, and I'll get back to the specific candidates in a second, and there's an amazing example from Michigan that I want to share with you guys too. But do they mean it? No, they know Trump's gonna be in office for another 3+ years. So they're never actually gonna be put to an actual decision. Like Buttigieg is not in Congress. Buttigieg is never gonna vote on any of this. And he won't get to do anything about it unless he wins the presidency. And at that point, 3-4 years later, he'll be like, oh, well, now that Israel has stopped slaughtering people and has already annexed Gaza and the West Bank, well, there's nothing we could do. So we're gonna send him another $20 billion, right? So no, they're totally, utterly, like their false statements are obvious because a minute ago he says he can't find words to criticize Israel. Then they go, hey, idiot. That's polling at 8% among voters, 8. right? He's like, okay, I found the words. I mean, they're still failing me largely, but it's complicated. I love when they say it's complicated. Why is it complicated? Wait, how's a genocide complicated? I mean, you pick any genocide or Holocaust, okay? In the middle of the Armenian genocide, the Turks are slaughtering the Armenians. If American politicians were like, well, it's complicated. I'm getting paid by the Turkish government, right? On the other hand, they're killing all these Armenians. It's complicated. No, there's not on the other hand. On the other hand is saying, but on the other hand, I'm corrupt and I like the people who are slaughtering innocent civilians. I mean, it's absurd. So that's why they're all like, I don't know what to do. How do I lie effectively? Because they lost their mommy and daddy. Their mommy and daddy was the New York Times and CNN. And those guys would protect them at all costs. No, that word salad was brilliant. Yeah, of course you should support Israel. Of course you should. Anyone who doesn't is an anti-Semite, right? So now that they don't have that, they still have that protection, but it's not working. The walls have been breached. They're at 8%. So now you're gonna see a lot of Democratic establishment politicians come with mealy-mouthed things because they can't fully criticize Israel because then they'll get spanked by AIPAC, right? So since they can't fully criticize Israel, is what you're gonna hear from here to 2028, right? Our beloved Israel, but a slight genocide, so I'm against them, but I'm for them. Donors give me money, voters give me votes. So that's one-on-one Shapiro. Get out of here, Shapiro. Jordan and I had this conversation, we had this debate. I backed Shapiro for VP in 2024, came to regret it. Because now, of course, oh no, Israel. No, brother. You're in America. Focus on this country, okay? So look, I'm gonna save the Michigan example. I gotta let Jackson.
Well, I think it's good that people like Pete Buttigieg are starting to make these slip-ups at this point before the midterms, let alone before the 2028 election, because right now we're really dealing with, you look at like the youth vote that Trump lost, that 27% slide. Those are the types of people that the Democrats really need to go after, because they're not just gonna vote Democrat just because they don't like Donald Trump or just because they're unsatisfied with this administration is doing. Things like supporting Palestinian lives, not being in favor of sending more weapons to Israel. Those are gonna be the key issues that bring people in, especially who are, like those independents and people like that who slid over to Trump in 2024. Because a statement, like if Pete Buttigieg says like, we cool with giving Israel money, but not for reprehensible things. I mean, once we give them the weapons, we don't have any control over what they do with them. And at the end of the day, it's war. So like, you can't say that you're not in favor of giving more weapons to Israel when we're doing it repetitively, no matter who's in office. And so right now, it's really important that the Democrats, one, mess up, keep messing up so that we can keep calling y'all out. But also there's so much room to get better people in office because Gen X on down we're of age. And as I say all the time, a lot of the people that we gotta knock out are like 82, 75, So it's just, we gotta take advantage of the fact that these people's time is up.
Yeah. One thing, I know if you wanna get to the Michigan thing, I wanna point out who exactly Pete Buttigieg ran to. So in this Politico story, he talked to Adam Wren, who, as somebody like myself who followed the 2020 media cycle really closely, Adam Wren was the beat reporter for Politico on Pete Buttigieg's campaign. And over time, people like myself noticed that he started to shift his reporting into what staff on other campaigns were saying about Pete. It wasn't so much about reporting on Pete, he was reporting for Pete. So when I saw that byline, it was pretty glaring why they chose this reporter to talk to, because they knew he would be hospitable, he'd be a stenographer, and he would help Pete in his quest to clean up his comments and rehab his image on this issue. Again, I can't reiterate enough. This guy knows how to talk. He has been seen as a poster boy for liberals for the past few years because of how clear and concise he is in the media. And then suddenly, how do words work?
Yeah. So look, I'm glad he went on Pod Save America, and that's considered more of a safe show, and good. They ask good questions. Like the reason why Buttigieg wouldn't come on a show like this is 0% chance is because we'd ask ferocious follow-up questions, and he's not interested in that. Okay, so but everybody has a different role to play. I love that Favreau asked some good questions that led to the word salads that led to this issue. So God bless PodSafe for doing that. And that's the thing though. What's safe anymore? So you go on what you think, what Buttigieg perceived to be a safe show. They ask him good questions. Now it's his job to answer it, but he can't answer it. And it doesn't matter that you went on that show. Everybody else can see it now. Before you know, the politicians would sometimes, all the way back in 2012, for example, we show Mitt Romney all the time saying one thing in front of one crowd and a completely different thing in front of a second crowd. And the idiots hadn't caught on to the fact that it's on YouTube, brother. Like both speeches are on YouTube. We're just gonna put them together. Like back then, they didn't even know what YouTube was. They just assumed they could lie in front of audiences and never get caught. So it's taking them forever to realize, oh, if I go on one show and I say something stupid, all the shows are gonna see it, right? So there's no place to hide, is my point. All right, now we go to Michigan. So there's two people in the race that are doing a great job, Abdul El-Sayed and State Senator Mallory McMorrow. So curious to hear both of them out. Both of them are a little bit more populist. Abdul El-Sayed, backed by Bernie Sanders in the past. They're solid progressive, like him a lot. They both raised a good amount of money, all grassroots, not taking PAC money, and they've still outraised the other person in the race. Okay, so they're doing great. We got this, and it's Michigan, okay? So Democratic leadership is like, no. Why no? What? They're polling good. They raise more money. They're good. No, we got to bring in a corporate Democrat. So they are bringing in Haley Stevens, who's a Democratic congresswoman, who's raising almost no money from the grassroots. She's actually trailing in fundraising those two because her corporate and Israeli lobby money has not come in yet. Wait, did I mention Israeli lobby money? Let's see how much Haley Stevens has taken in her short career from the Israeli lobby. Oh, only $5.4 million. She's like a nobody congresswoman for about 3 minutes. $5,480,000. So the other two are not in favor of Israel's genocide. Haley Stevens, you're gonna be shocked to find out, is not bothered by it. So Chuck Schumer and the Democratic leaders are like, whoa, we've got an emergency here. We might accidentally win a race. No, let's send a corporate idiot who's totally in favor of a genocide into Michigan to get slaughtered.
We might have to work.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's why I say these Democratic corporate establishment, Democratic leadership is never gonna learn, never, ever, ever, ever. And if it looks like they're learning, they're just learning how to lie better. Like the Buttigieg is in the shop right now. You know what's happening? Recomputing. How do I get the 92% who hate my position to love it and still take millions of dollars from AIPAC? Recomputing. Okay, not gonna work. And by the way, if you guys are Democratic donors out there, whether you give $5 or $5 million, you're wasting your money on the robots. Even if you love the robots and you love their corporate position and whatever you like about them, right? Oh my God, he went to Harvard, he sounds so smart, okay? It doesn't matter because you're burning the money anyway, right? He's not gonna win. It's a new world. Everybody gets caught in this world. Your only chance is people who are authentic. Look for people not taking PAC money. That's your answer. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.